You are listening to the Push Media Podcast Network.
This is good shit.
Is cocaine's Dr. Seuss, or you may know me as Dr. Seuss from Seussical the Musical, circa 2011. Just one of the two ways you may know my alias. I believe it is the one most commonly used by the Ohio Police Department. I'm pretty sure Ohio or Iowa use cocaine's Dr. Seuss when referring to any and all purported sightings of international criminal me. I'm also known as Sir Lucius Leftfoot down in the dirty South. Stankonia, Freak Nick. You know what I'm saying? Things like that. Because I don't know what I'm saying half the time. But what I do know is I bring some news. I bring tidings of the outside world. I bring developments. And what I bring to you is a tale as old as time. A tale that involves morons in Russia, people in power who happen to be morons, and Russia having a fascination with magic people, with sorcerers, with people who claim to be prophets, people who claim to be soothsaying, truth-knowing, Rolls-Royce driving, limousine woo! You know, now is not the time for silliness, although it is always the time to celebrate Ric Flair. That should be pointed out, because that man probably died 6 or 7 times, but he's still here, kicking, eating flapjacks, probably with your daughter. But before we get into the tale as old as time, with Russia, world domination, morons in charge, things of that nature, let's first, unfortunately, I have a responsibility, I have a moral obligation to declare an armistice with Pusha T. As many of you may have known, I, as the rightful cocaine Dr. Seuss, have declared a war, a battle with Pusha T, because I found him to be a snake oil salesman who would roll into town on a mysterious stagecoach and take off with something valuable. That level of grifter, because he was releasing EP after EP for sale of music that had been released up to a decade ago. That's bullshit. That's rude. That is unjust. Unjust doesn't matter. But unfortunately, Pusha released a phenomenal album. A better album than me. He certainly beat my album. In our war, 50 Cent would be me, and Kanye would be Pusha T. So, you know, you got to accept your lot in life. Sometimes you have to be the 50 Cent. And that is a role that I reluctantly accept in this situation, because Pusha's album was the shit. It was great. I didn't want to like it, but the shit is tight. It is so good. So unfortunately, Pusha, you can breathe easy. You can relax. You can tell all your men to relax. I am not going to do anything. You don't have to worry. I respect music, game, peep game, so therefore white flag raised. I'm going to take the French approach and elect someone who married their babysitter, and by also that, I just mean wave a white flag and give up. Roll over and die. You made a better album than me. Congratulations. So now that all diplomatic obligations have been fulfilled, all duties have been met, let's talk about the most not diplomatic person in the world. I'm, of course, talking about Vladimir Putin, and that's darn tootin'. The man on a poetic, misguided, illogical quest to conquer just a little tiny bit more land next to his massive piece of land already at the cost of nuclear war and entire global catastrophe. That guy, the opposite of diplomatic, a person whose morals don't even come close to mine. I just rolled over and died like a dirty Frenchman in labor and love and of respect for music. And I just gave up my fight against Pusha T, who was ripping off innocent people for their hard-earned money, because I respect art. That's how principled I am, and that is how unprincipled Vladimir Putin is. And not to mention, we have the entire situational hazard of the fact he's a motherfucking Ruski. And those people And I know that is not a strong way to start an argument at all. But here it goes. Russians, for some reason, unbeknownst to me, something I can't wrap my head around, are susceptible to people claiming to be magic. I don't know another way to put it. This might sound crazy, but that's probably why you listen to the show. Russians are susceptible to warlocks, folks. Assess that and make of them what you will in all future judgments. Russians are susceptible to magicians. I'll explain. So we all know who Rasputin is, right? He was the guy who talked Trotsky or Stalin or whatever into murdering Anastasia's family, and her dad was Tsar Nicholas, but Anastasia secretly survived, and she ran off to Stalingrad and had a wonderful musical and somehow became princess again. We all know Russian history, but what I'm telling you is about Rasputin. Rasputin was the guy in that story who was secretly manipulatively claiming to be this soothsaying Russian prophet fella who actually knows the future. He can do magic. I am important. My penis is huge. That's also something he said that's fact. That's historical, firsthand, primary source shit, okay? So Rasputin, actually not a magician, if you didn't know, not to spoil the end of the story for you, turns out there aren't warlocks. But Rasputin was a guy who was able to use his charisma to manipulate those who happened to have the power in Russia at the time. Now, and just to, wrap up Rasputin's story, they ended up killing him, threw him into a frozen river or something. But an also true fact is that they did save his massively huge penis. And they pickled it and put it in a jar, which is currently on display, literally not making this up, in Russia right now. Rasputin's pickled penis. Say that 5 times fast. Rasputin's pickled penis. Rasputin's pickled penis. The Human Torch was denied a bank loan. But that's all real. Rasputin claimed to be a magician, won over military leaders, people who had access to other people who they could tell go fight and kill and take over. And it's a shame that Russians are susceptible to magicians. I thought as a group of people collectively, and when I say group of people, I just mean humans, I thought we had moved past the powers and spells of warlocks. Unfortunately, that has not happened in Eurasia. So, history repeats itself. That's something we know to be true. World wars happen. That's why we don't change the title. We just give them new numbers. And that's why you should prepare for 3. Because currently, Vladimir Putin is on a misguided quest to take over pretty much the world. Because he feels like a lot of other Russians do, that the Ukraine is rightfully part of Russia. Which, historically has been for some parts of time. Some parts of time it hasn't been. I don't give a fuck one way or the other. To be very clear, I do give a fuck about the atrocities happening in the Ukraine that Russian soldiers are committing. Those fucking ape fucks susceptible to warlocks. Those stupid, mean, ugly whites. Russians, that is. And at this point, Russians in the Russian army, I should probably preface, this is not a hate rally. This is not that. I had to deal with Russians all the time when I sold gym memberships in a predominantly Russian neighborhood. You have no idea how difficult it is to talk a Russian into giving you $9.99 a month, especially when you don't have a pool. You don't have pool? Why would I give you money when I can't come here and go swimmy? These are difficult folks. They stand by their morals, they work hard, but they're susceptible to fucking magic, okay? Red flag. And I bring up this magic shit a lot because this is something that I came across and I just couldn't fucking believe. It really stopped me in my tracks. I couldn't fathom that this was an actual thing that was true. And this comes to us courtesy of Kathy Young. Kathy Young wrote an article, and it is titled, "The Bizarre Russian Prophet Rumored to Have Putin's Ear." And then I shit myself and threw it at the wall and yelled, "Mommy, help." Because it's happening again. It didn't end well the first fucking time. In fact, it ended with Russia temporarily having a new name and us starting MK Ultra and kidnapping our own people and maybe conceptually creating aliens. Who knows? So those are things I would very much like to avoid that course of action occurring once more. But according to Kathy Young, Putin who we all know has this weird personal borderline of logic passion for the Ukraine. It's not strictly a literal militaristic advantage thing that about the Ukraine that Putin values so much. It's more of a spiritual quest. And according to Kathy, there is currently a new modern Rasputin who is rumored to have Putin's ear, penis, buttocks, bank account, social security number, and mom's cell phone number. This guy, by the name of Alexander Dugin. Alexander. You know how Russians spell Alexander? Wrong. They just throw a K in there. His name's Alexander Dugin, D-U-G-I-N. And I know it sounds kind of close to Duggar. Now, I'm not ruling out if Josh Duggar has, imposed upon himself a superfluous fake Russian accent and made his way to the Ukraine-Russian border and has somehow worked his way into Vladimir Putin's inner circles. There is certainly no reason for me to believe that that is too absurd to take place. That is too crazy to happen now. That'd be like saying the president was talking about Iran and Pakistan to kids on Easter and then got swept away by the Easter Bunny. It's not like that happened last week on video. So this guy, Alexander Dugin, Hadugin, who cares, is apparently a poet, a hipster, a guitar player who is rumored, according to many sources, and again, this is according to Kathy Young, to have had the ear and just, influence of Vladimir Putin. And this guy, Alexander, if you do a little fucking digging, he originally, came up at a time when the USSR was, starting to collapse and turn back into Russia. But he took the side, the very radical stance at the time, of becoming a self-proclaimed fascist. However, a fascist who has said, and I quote, "Real true fascism has never actually been tried." Now, that's coming from a place that was a communist fucking country with a gulag. Communism, real communism, has never actually happened because the transitional stage where the people who have to overthrow the current power in order to give it over to the people, they always forget that last pesky fucking step of, okay, we got to give the power back over to the people. It never truly happens. Now, this guy, the magician Alexander Dugin, I'm going to just call him Josh Duggar for the rest of the episode. Fuck it. He claims a very similar logic in that Russia is destined to create a vast Eurasian kingdom. He used the word kingdom. And again, this is all in coffee shops, in bookstores. This guy's a fucking acoustic guitar playing hipster, which I agree on its face isn't something you should fear. The only difference is this troubadour from the USSR, whenever he went to an open mic, he was talking about fascism and manifest destiny in the form of a Russian empire taking over most of the rest of the continents. And this guy apparently stuck around. He built up a sustainable amount of fans, nothing too crazy to pop too big, but enough to sustain himself. Think of him as a Russian Morrissey, and probably that level of, fuck you, you're annoying. However, somehow this magician has somehow cast his spell over inept Russian leadership, aka Russian leadership, and has captured the soul of Vladimir Putin. And again, this is according to Kathy Young. However, it is also important to point out that in the same article, Kathy Young points out there hasn't been actual confirmation that Alexander Dugin, a.k.a. Josh Duggar, and Vladimir Putin actually are, in close quarters and proximity with each other. It's just a bunch of rumors. However, they apparently come from very credible sources. And all of that, fucking great. Happenstance, circumstantial evidence, who gives a fuck? The fact we're even talking about this, and there is enough of an evidence to suggest it's possible, and there is a real person named Josh Duggar, a.k.a. Alexander Dugin, a hipster troubadour passing through the coffee shops of Stalingrad, professing an artistic, romantic view of fascism. The fact that this is, again, something probably real is crazy. We're doing it again. How are we gonna let the people in charge of Russia once again fall under the spells of a fucking warlock? Again, are you fucking kidding me? With these fucking world wars over stupid reasons. Does anyone understand why World War I happened? I still haven't got a straight answer. Duke Ferdinand got shot, powder keg, started the world, Black Hand, and then Captain America or whatever. I get it. World War II, obviously Hitler, Nazis, and then they went to Argentina, Antarctica. We all know what happened. But when you do a little research on your own, when you take a more humanistic point of view, when just studying some history, if you ever do that, actually, based on how I just framed it, who the fuck would ever do that? But I do. I like it. There's some nerds among us. The point is, when you move past the 9th and 10th grade explanations as to World War II, when you look at the actual events and the human interactions that occurred that motivated people to do stupid shit, such as, kill the Tsar and take over Russia, there are insane, truly absurd, stupid situations that you are incapable of wrapping your head around. Case in point, Rasputin was a dude who was a homeless guy with a fat cock who won over the fucking military leaders and people who wanted to overthrow and take over an entire country, all because he claimed to be kind of magic. Can you fucking take a second to wrap your head around the fact the reason the USSR is not called the USSR today, the reason that fell, in a lot of ways, can be traced to a homeless person with a big piece, and that was it. Really, that's how disappointing and anticlimactic most of history is when you look at it. A homeless dude with a piece collapsed the USSR. And I don't mean to laugh, but for the love of shit, it's happening again. Now, I don't know this Alexander Duggan fella. I don't know if he's real. Kathy Young is an actual journalist. She's pretty credible. Is it possible she is also part of Russian disinformation, and this is also some more MK Ultra shit? Of course it is. Of course it is. Silly. It's possible everything is MK Ultra. It's possible they're listening to you right now, and it's possible the best thing for you to do would be to put on earplugs, put on a rubber coat, rubber boots, step outside, and tell everybody your name is Sally and your mom is actually your dad. You tell your mother, I know he's my father. I fell into a thornberry bush. That was a complete, no one knows what, that's unrelated to everything at hand. And now I have to address it. But anyway, if you've ever seen The King of Staten Island, the Pete Davidson movie, Pete Davidson sucks, to be very clear. I don't get the appeal. But there's such a funny part in that movie where at the end of the movie, Action Bronson just happens to stop by the firehouse where Pete Davidson's sitting looking stupid and he's hurt. Action Bronson just got hit in the stomach, probably knifed or something, and he's bleeding. He sits on the bench and he just starts rambling, nonsense to Pete. And he just starts saying shit like, you tell your father, I know he's my mother. I fell in a thornberry bush. Just shit like that. And I start saying that all the time for no reason at all. And I have gotten so far off track from my original story as to how the USSR fell. But that is the same level of, ooh, look, squirrel stupid inside of the fucking Kremlin to this day, folks. That is the level of attention span that is currently occupied by the highest points of Russian authority and have been evidently for the last 100 fucking years. Because another magician rolled into town with an acoustic guitar, a song in his heart, and aspirations for fascism throughout the Eurasian continent. And this Russian Bruce Springsteen has captured the hearts and minds of many Russian followers, including the likes of Vladimir Putin, darn tootin', and Vladimir Putin just looks like a guy who would like Bruce Springsteen. Fuck it. He does. Maybe that's really the root of my issue with him. Vladimir Putin looks like he would be a big... that's why the USSR fell. Vladimir Putin looks like he's a fan of Bruce Springsteen. And you know what? You know why this is so fucking funny? Because it is true. It is. It's real. Admit it to yourself. Think of everyone if you like Bruce Springsteen, 1, turn off the fucking show and never come back. But 2, if you know Bruce Springsteen, think of the person you know who's a fan of him. They fucking are terrible. They suck. They definitely believe the Ukraine belongs to Russia. And Vladimir Putin 100% would be at a fucking Bruce Springsteen show. He would buy tickets to Bruce Springsteen on Broadway, that fuck. He would probably get a tattoo on his forearm. Oh, fuck. Look, the fact remains, Vladimir Putin looks like a Bruce Springsteen fan. And he has been like fans of Bruce Springsteen. Like fans of Bruce Springsteen, he has fallen under a spell. Fuck, man, there's the analogy. I've stumbled onto something. Russia is susceptible to magicians claiming to be musicians like Bruce Springsteen who sing tales of simpler times that never actually happened. Fuck, this is so accurate. It's crazy to me. Bruce Springsteen, Rasputin, Alexander Duggan are the same fucking guy. Throw in Josh Duggar. And now, because Putin has been so convincingly swept up in Springsteen mania, he has decided to invade the Ukraine. Fucking atrocities are being committed against Ukrainian people, innocent civilians, by Russian soldiers doing horrific, unspeakably evil shit and then posting a picture of their stupid fucking face online. All because of Bruce Springsteen. And I don't mean to laugh, but like sometimes you scientifically, biologically have to because shit is just so crazy absurd. But the fact remains still. Nuclear holocaust is possible. Putin has shut off gas to Europe. And if you haven't caught on, gas is still $4 or more wherever you live. And now, just within the last 18 hours, Putin has threatened nuclear war with the West. He's threatened to just say, you know what, fuck it, nukes. And if even 1% of this story about Alexander Duggan, the 60-year-old hipster troubadour who sings tales of fascism and Russian glory, is even kind of true at all, what is our responsibility as rational human beings to do with Russia? Are we to let a group of people who have proven time and time again to be susceptible to magic, are we to let them have their own country still? Are we to let them continue to govern themselves? Are they capable of doing so? And I know this is a slippery and yet short slope that probably ends in phrenology for a lot of people. Not me, because I am capable of having a nuanced conversation about forced occupation of other countries. But again, I know it's not an opinion people love, but should we really allow a country of that size and scale like Russia to exist if they're gonna fall for warlocks' lies? Should they be allowed to exist? I think it's a reasonable, fair question. I think it's a question that should be brought to debate teams across the country. I think it's a question that should be brought to the highest courts in the land, UNs, model UNs. Let's get every model UN involved on this. Should we allow a country to exist that claims that magic and warlocks have the answers? I don't think so. I will take the unpopular stance of declaring a country of people under the spell of a magician a problem. And my evidence to support the severity of this issue involve nuclear war and gas prices. It may sound mean, but I refer you to nuclear war and gas prices. And if you refer to those things and you find yourself getting a little sad, I have some music I could suggest to lift your mood. It's a little known, acoustics, soft-spoken, kind of, coffee shop vibes. Guy's named Alexander Duggan, and he believes in Russian fascism sweeping the entire Eurasian continent. Here's a QR code from Starbucks. We exist in a reality where nuclear war is certainly more than a 0% occurrence. It definitely has a shot at happening. In fact, Vladimir Putin said, I might do that. We live in a reality where nuclear weapons could be deployed any moment, not to freak anybody out, because of a guy who has a few really good songs in Russia, in Russian. No, it isn't possible to have a good song in Russian at all. You mean to tell me that language sounds good melodically? That language sounds good in song. It translates. It captures the hearts and minds of people, the Russian language, in a song. Okay, sure. Even Rasputin wasn't bold enough to claim he could sing. He just said, I'm homeless, I have a long black trench coat and a fat cock. But even he knew this stupid Russian language doesn't translate well on tape. And Vladimir Putin, despite having the admiration of most of his followers, despite being a strong man who believes in fitness, liberty, Russian, power and horse riding and whatever and whatever. No one cares or knows. The point is you fell for the tricks of a warlock. You fuck. I wish I would have, oh man. Knowing what I know now, I could tell you one thing. It would have been a lot different if you were trying to buy a gym membership from me and you were Russian and this was going on then. I'll tell you what, I wouldn't have been as diplomatic in the tense negotiations that were your $9.99 gym membership if I would have known fucking Vladimir Putin was going to bomb the world because a guy had a song in his heart. If I would have known gas would have been over $4 a gallon. If I would have known there's a shot I might get drafted. If I would have known all this shit was going on, you best believe you weren't getting a deal. You best believe you weren't getting this month's promo. Vladimir. Oh, shit. This is not excellent. This is not excellent at all. Not good, even a little bit. Because we have our own fucking problems still that are only going to be compounded by a nuclear war. Like, our economy's a little fucked. Because you remember when everyone was so excited over making all this money over selling their house? Do you remember when it was reported last month that just for the first time in history, Americans made more money from the value of their homes than they did the jobs they have and do with all of their fucking time? Well, think about this, though. Just because you sold your house and you got all this money, you now need a house, right? So to get a new house, you got to buy a new house. But the thing is, the same reason you made all that money from selling your house where you're like, can you believe this shit? Karen, we bought this place for $180,000 in the 90s when Clinton was playing sax. And we're flipping it for almost $500,000. It's incredible. Okay, now you got to buy a new house. And all houses also cost about $500,000 right now. So what the fuck are you going to do? You haven't actually made money. You haven't actually made shit. Truly, if you think about it, if you bought a house for $180,000 and you sell it 20 years later when coronavirus is going on and you're fucking unbelievably ecstatic with how much homes are valued right now, and just this last year you sold it and you made all this money, you still need a place to live, folks. You still need some shelter. You still need a roof. The only thing is the roof that you sold that you used to have that you can't believe made you so much money, all new roofs cost that much money. Do you see the inherent issue with this? Inflation is going to be a problem, specifically when a lot of the root of the, exponential growth of the inflation is tied to fucking housing, to real estate, to the property market. Compound that with the fact that we also might have all of them bombed by a Russian and a singer-songwriter. I don't no, nothing good there. Not good. I'm just pointing out two things that happen to be true still. Make of that information what you will and do what you will with it. I don't know how to plan for these things. What I do know is not to listen to Russian music, but I've been thankfully doing that all my life. I also know magicians are liars, but thankfully I've also known that all my life. If you were on the fence, I guess, if you're listening, and you perhaps have some vague Eastern European Russian origin, maybe someone in your family was a little Slavic, someone slaved on the knob like your mom, corn on the cob. Maybe if you're a little Russian, if you're on the edge, and maybe you're someone who's open to magic, maybe you like magic shows, maybe you watched Chris Angel at some point, my advice to you would be don't fall for it. Don't get swept up in supporting an occupation of a different country with innocent people and killing most of them in the name of recapturing glory you never had. I guess that's the message here, if you're on the fence about that. Save money, set up an IRA, don't get into Doge, because that fucking long-faced alien cuckold Elon's not helping. He's not here to help you. Actually, and you know what? And this is just because I'm going to put this at the very end of the episode because I want to make sure everyone's listening. I 100% am in support of Elon taking over Twitter. I think it's a great idea. I think if anyone was going to fix the problems that continue and will continue, but hopefully stop now, to get much larger, I think Elon's the guy to fix it. I think he's actually the right dude to be in charge of Twitter. There. How about that? There's a little Easter egg for you. I am in support of Elon Musk in charge of Twitter. I think it's a great idea. I think he is 100% truthful and honest, and I don't think he was in a picture with Ghislaine Maxwell and the hot Rothschild. I don't. Not real, not true, made it up, fake news. So Vladimir Putin has fallen for a Rasputin, darn tootin'. Russians are susceptible to magic still. And, money is by the second becoming more and more useless or not valuable, just, toilet paper. So, what's really important here to remember is Bruce Springsteen sucks, and it's a good thing Elon's in charge of Twitter, because now he'll protect all of our free speech. And Dogecoin is a valuable, viable form of currency. I don't even know what that means. No one does, but it's provocative. What are you talking about? It gets the people going.